Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition, a special edition, because it's Christmas and it's that time of the year when our thoughts go to worthy things that we wish we'd done. Over the course of the year, you feel slightly guilty. Anyway, I was going through my own angst-ridden navel-gazing period, and I thought of this amazing person who always makes me feel that I should do more. I'm incredibly thrilled to be speaking to Mrs. Nkoyo Rapu. Hello, Mrs. Rapu. How are you?
Hello, Mrs. Marriott. I'm well, thank you. And you?
Well, you know, I every time I speak to you or I see you, I always feel slightly guilty that, gosh, she gets so much done, and there I am, still reading Milsam Boone and not giving that much to charity, not doing so much in my day. Nkoyo, I'm so proud of you. Just give you a tiny bit of her backstory. Now, Nkoyo and I go really way back, but what she's doing now is just awesome. She's a founder and project coordinator of Bethesda Charity. It's a foundation. She's been doing this for 20 years. And they got 4 schools for seriously disadvantaged children, 1 skills acquisition center. So just tell me just a little bit about this, because there's so much to pack in. Just tell me a little bit about Bethesda.
Thank you very much. Bethesda is a child support agency, and as Shade said, it was established 20 years ago out of my passion and the need to provide what I call the gift of opportunity to very, very poor and disadvantaged children. And so I'm glad to be able to give back to society, and I think everybody does in different ways. And by the way, Shade, you talk of being proud of me, but I'm extremely proud of you too.
Don't turn it back on me. This is about you. So, I mean, Bethesda has how many children?
We have about 900 children.
Oh my goodness.
On our scholarship in our schools. And of course, the children go to school free of charge, absolutely free of charge. And that's because of the magnanimity of benevolent people like you also who support what we do. So, in a nutshell, that's my passion, even though I do other things that are pastoral.
Oh, no, you do a lot of other things. But I went to one of the Bethesda school. They were opening a new wing. And it was just so well done. This is Corona quality for children in these areas. And funny enough, we say these areas, but the areas are actually quite up and coming. There are a lot of expensive homes there. But the abject poverty living right next door to incredible amount of wealth. First of all, how do you get the land? Because a lot of people who want to do these things, or they talk about wanting to do this, they said the one thing that stops them from moving ahead is to find a space and land to do it. How do you get the land in these areas? And do you get local buy-in of the people?
Okay. I think if I recall, the school you came to was the Bethesda Primary and Secondary School, Junior Secondary School in Ikota.
Yes, that's right.
Now that school is about 15 years old. Okay. So now the environment is more developed. But 16 years ago when we went there, it was absolutely muddy and dirty.
Well, we had to abandon our cars and go in a bus that day because it was a journey. It was a mental journey for me as well.
In those days, when I went into the community with a couple of other people, we used to wear rain boots because it was all swampy and dirty. The school was actually a rubbish dump. Whoa. The land where the school is currently on. And what did we do? When I got into the community, went in to see the ballet, the traditional ruler in charge, and requested for land. And I remember at the time, the project was just a thought. But I remember saying to him, if you give me permission, give me 2 plots of land and permission to clear this whole area, I would be able to raise the funding we need to start the school. And it seemed ridiculous at the time. The houses were just bamboo, and they'd used dustbin nylon to shield themselves from the houses, or the make-do shacks from the rain. And so I just went to people I knew, particularly in the church community, which is where my area of influence is. And I was able to raise the money over a period of time. As soon as they allowed me, we cleared the place and the pictures, and I was able to raise the money. And now there are at least 350 children on that site.
On that site?
Yes, and a permanent, you could see that.
Yeah, I know. That was the opening of the new block at a permanent site.
Yes, yes.
Oh, wow.
If I were to go into how the funds are raised, it would take the whole of your interview.
No. It's the organization, I think, more than the funds. Because I think fundraising is easy. It's the organizing and making it happen that I think is actually quite difficult.
Well, Shade, I must always bring in the God factor, because that's really who I am.
Exactly.
And it's a step of faith. And I think what the Bethesda project speaks of is the fact that God can take a seed that is dedicated to him and multiply it. In 20 years, we've paid our staff, and to date, there are about 93 members of staff. We don't owe any money, and I just can't explain it, but I know if I sat down to write it, it'd be a model. We've had to walk by faith, but God has backed every step. I do a lot of praying. I do a lot of consulting. We have a strong board of Christians who also believe in the project. There are 16 of us on the board. So we work with one mind and one purpose to achieve the mandate God has given us.
Wow, well done. So this Bethesda model, I think, is fascinating because there's so much talk now. Businesses looking at a social enterprise as a business model. Tell me a little bit about this Bethesda. And you went to Harvard to talk about it. Mm-hmm. This is really, really good. Talk to me.
Well, I think the invitation to Harvard compelled me to look into our model. And I think what was also intriguing was the fact that the project was started without a grant. So how did we raise this model?
Because most people say, oh, we can't start, we need some money. It's like a chicken and egg situation. Mm-hmm. And people will give you money once you've started because they want to fund a project, but you can't have a project without the money. Mm-hmm. So how did you start without
the money?
Without a grant?
I believe that if you have an idea and there's a track record of integrity, if I may say so, and then you have the people that can support the idea, then the people become your first audience from which you draw support that also then generates income. So this is actually how it started. We had a family in our immediate environment who were distressed, and the man had lost his job. And my husband said to me, he said, do you think you could help this family? And I thought, how do I help them? So I simply went to another family in church and then presented their need. And they were very happy to provide the resources needed for those children to go back to school. And so the thought occurred to me that I could use my goodwill to facilitate a movement of charity between poor families and families that are more affluent. So that's actually how it started. It started with an idea, and then I found out that I was placed in an environment where I could generate support and then pass the support on to people who needed it. And as time went on, I wanted for the project to own schools because I felt...
Oh, you came from an education background.
I came from
your mother and my mother, they all had schools.
Exactly. And my mom's school started from just a veranda at home.
Yes.
I don't know if that was the case.
Yeah, my mother started from the living room.
Yes.
And friends' children.
Friends'
and families' children,
and it grew. Yes. So that's also how I got the idea. And as time went on, I felt these children are being sponsored in other schools. we don't have influence over their morals.
Yeah.
So the next level would be to start the Bethesda schools. And that's how we progress from sponsor a child to getting land. And the people who saw the sponsor a child model became the people who sold the idea and generated income alongside us to start the schools.
Well, gosh, I'm just trying to find a parallel, because if you're starting a business, they'll say, start with family and friends. So you started with family and friends.
I started with family and friends. That's what it is.
Yes,
actually.
it is. There's a parallel business model.
Yes.
It's just that the end game for you is not profit, but it's a social capital and social enterprise.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
And then you've gone on to a skills acquisition center. Because I remember we mentioned it briefly, but trust you just went nuclear with it. You said, these children that we educated, I was driving in Lekki and I saw these people that left our schools now begging. Is this what is going to happen? I must do something about it. And then what do you do?
Yeah. So in the past 1.5, 2 years, we've had COVID to contend with. And one of my philosophies in life is, or my belief system would be, in a crisis, that's the perfect time to move forward. Against the backdrop of intense darkness is always the need to shine light. Yeah. There's always an opportunity. And so I thought, why sit down here and moan about COVID? We can move forward and start a skills acquisition center. Because what that means is there are more people. The economy is going to go on a downslide. Yep. You're going to have more unemployed young people. The need is going to be huge.
Multiplied, yeah.
Now, I don't claim that we have solved the problem, because the problem is monumental, but the idea is light a candle. And if many people light a candle, it will all turn out to become eventually a huge light. So that's the idea. We started. Well, how did the Skills Acquisition Center start? Once I get an idea and a thought,
you're amazing. You just go with it.
I pray about it.
Yeah.
I get a conviction. I put together a board, because I know I'm a dreamer. So I also need the people who will work with me hands-on. So I put together a board of willing women who are also active and same mindset. And we ran with the vision. I'd like to tell you that there's one lady provided 90% of what we needed to start the Skills Acquisition Center.
That is so awesome.
I never had the money in the bank.
Yeah.
But I move with the force of my conviction, believing that God will back up what
the thing is, when people see the sincerity of purpose and the purity of the intention, then they'll buy. And that's probably the same problem with the country. When there's a purity of intent, you can move mountains. And boy, I'm in awe.
Thank you for that compliment. That's what I consider it to be.
I just think you can't get people to follow you if they don't feel that you're doing what they want or what they like, or that your intentions are pure. And you're getting results. And I saw a video of the concert that your children had. I mean, the quality of the singing, I think, not apart from the joy, is the looseness in the children, because they're free. They just feel, they have no burdens, and that is for Christmas, Nkoyo, that made my Christmas, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation at this time. And it just, like I was saying, what should I do for Christmas? I don't want to do my usual business, fun, art. I want to do something uplifting, but also worthy. And I just thought of you and I corralled you. I didn't warn you what we was going to entail. So I literally just hijacked you. And thank you for being gracious enough to do it.
I don't have a choice.
Well, you could have made it more difficult. I would still have got you, but you would have made it slightly more difficult. So I'm just so grateful. Thank you. Now I want to learn about you.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you were a Catholic. The other part of Nkoyo that you don't know is that she's on the board of trustees of Freedom Foundation and House of Freedom. Now I don't know if anybody's been to this kind of church before. It's a slightly different church. I went there and I thought I had an experience for those of us who like our church light but with meaning. Nkoyo's always despaired of me. I actually enjoyed the service. The music was amazing, and the warmth of the welcome, because I find a lot of our churches make the barrier to entry quite hard for people they don't think are on their side of the fence. They were so welcoming. I got a nice package when I had lovely breakfast, but then also I could identify. So you do that, and from somebody who's strongly Catholic to this easygoing
Pentecostal movement.
Well, it was Pentecostal light.
Okay.
I mean, because there is Pentecostal and there's Pentecostal. How did that happen for you?
That takes me back about 35, 36 years.
Yes.
So I grew up in a Catholic home.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, say the
Yes.
rosary, and still have quite a few relatives who are Catholics. I do believe sincerely, and I know that when you get to heaven, God is not going to ask if you were Catholic
No.
or Anglican
Yes, quite.
or Pentecostal, but He's just going to want to know that you loved Jesus, you gave your life to Him, you lived a righteous life, you've pleased God, obeyed Him. More importantly, you yielded to the sacrifice of Calvary and saying, Lord, come into my heart and change me. Because of my own righteousness, I can't gain an entry into heaven. So the transition from Catholicism to Pentecostalism, if I may say, first of all, the discipline that I believe that I try to walk in, even as a pastor now, would stem from my Catholic background. Because at some point...
I find the Catholics a bit intimidating. There's a lot of don't do's, don'ts,
Yeah.
and guilt. And boy, I have a lot to be guilty about.
No. God doesn't call us to be guilty. He loves us. But anyhow, I found that I wanted more. I wanted a bit more than the restriction of reading the missal and saying the rosary. I kind of wanted to have a more vibrant and meaningful relationship and more personal relationship with God. I had times when I was always going to follow more and just kneeling by the statue of Mary and just wanting to know more about God, hungry and thirsty for Him. And so one evening, a friend of mine just led me to a prayer meeting in a lovely home in Victoria Island. It was the home of Reverend Mrs. Oduyemi.
Okay.
Of the Bethel Worship Center. And I just liked the way she was floating about with such ease and peace. And when she got to me and said, what would you like me to pray for you about? I said, just that I may know Jesus more. And I want the peace that you have. You know, and it was a very simple prayer. I didn't grow taller or fatter.
You didn't see vision.
I didn't see, but I just realized months after certain words that I would very comfortably say, oh, stupid girl, or something like that, suddenly became very heavy to pronounce. And I realized that internally I was going through a sort of a metamorphosis that was leading me to know God better. And when I opened the Bible to read, it was liberating to see that I could feel that God was speaking to me through His word. When you say how,
directly.
Yes, when you say how, the scriptures would leap at me. And all of a sudden, the Bible wasn't like a newspaper. It had a life of its own. And that's where my transformation and the eventual calling.
Because I remember we would party and then you'd feel guilty afterwards. I was always feeling guilty. I said, this Catholic thing. And then, of course, you met your husband and you had that journey together.
Yes.
And, I mean, he's such a lovely person. Before he became the pastor, he was a doctor. And I remember that journey, and I'm so proud of the two of you and that relationship. I think for plebs like me, looking at that, it makes me feel that there's hope for us, if you mean well and your heart's right and your hands are clean and you want the best for people, things usually turn out right. So yeah, I'm basking in your reflected glory for having known you. Yes. So yes, there's hope for me. So tell me, what is one thing still left on your bucket list that you'd still like to do?
I think I would like to start writing more.
Right. Okay.
Write the story, write the models
Of Bethesda.
of Bethesda,
Yeah.
the church journey.
Would that be part of your own journey as well, or just the Bethesda? Would it be like an autobiography?
I
Or-
think it would be both.
Okay.
Writing about the Bethesda story and also writing about my journey, which includes quite a few things.
Oh boy! Just reading through your birthday book. I'm not going to say how old I am, but yeah, we share the same sort of landmark birthday, and I just said, there is a book here. This is from different people's perspectives, but I want to hear from you, your journey. A journey is such a hackneyed word, but your journey, your philosophy, and the different metamorphoses you've gone through. I'd love to read that. So yeah, put me down for the first book. I will help you read it to be edited.
Yes.
Okay. So, who do you admire the most?
Mandela.
Okay. Yes.
Because it stems from having visited South Africa and gone to the Mandela Square
Yeah.
in Sandton. And because it inspired me to write a book, one of the two books I've written so far, Shining Statues.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
And what touched me was this huge, towering statue, but it spoke to me of indomitable spirit. That indomitable spirit.
We call it Shangri in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, Shangri. Yeah.
Like Shangri.
Where you stand against all
odds, yeah.
and you stand for what you believe.
Yeah.
And you're able to rally people around your leadership.
You have the courage of your conviction, but then also, again, it comes down to purity of intent. And he ended up not having feet of clay like we normally see. He ended well. It's one thing to start well, but to end well. Yeah.
So, Mandela.
Mandela is your person. Okay. Well, if you were not all these things that you've done, apart from also being a writer, what would be, if you came to this world another life and you didn't do all these amazing things you do, what would you like to
That's a very tricky and interesting question.
It's a funny question, isn't it?
Oh, my goodness.
Would you have liked to be an anonymous person somewhere beavering away? Or
what is the thing I wish? That's a difficult one because I'm trying not to be spiritual about it. And
feel free to be spiritual.
I think I would.
This is Christmas. We can be spiritual.
Lord, I think I would want to still be a social entrepreneur.
Yeah. Because you've got the skills, you've got the mindset, you've got the energy, and you get the results.
Maybe to be a pilot.
Yeah, wow, no!
You know how I feel about flying.
Yes, you and I.
So I would be in control of the aircraft.
So you say, I am in charge of this plane.
And I know where we're going.
Yes.
There's no need to worry about it.
It's in the need for control. Yes. Okay. Now, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you like to live? If you had a choice and it's not Nigeria, which I think is your first choice. Yeah, because I remember over the summer we were in England and you said, I like my country.
After 3 months in England.
I want to go back to Nigeria.
That's why I pray so much for Nigeria, that our country would become, the other day.
Fulfill its potential.
Yes, fulfill, that's it. The people are so resilient, the people are hardworking, clever, intelligent, super courageous. And so it breaks my heart when people judge us by the few bad eggs in our society, Where would I like
where
to
would
live?
you like to live? Yeah.
It would have to be an African country.
At least a black country.
A black country, or the Caribbean.
Because you're half Jamaican.
Yes, I could live in Jamaica.
You could live in Jamaica.
Because of heritage.
Yes.
Yeah. And I could live in Ghana. I like Ghana, but then
lovely.
I haven't visited many African countries. So the point would be, it would have to be a country with...
predominantly black people, with the same shared culture and heritage.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. It's not just a color thing. It's a heritage thing. Okay. So what are you reading at the moment?
You gave me a book, and if I remember, it's The Girl with a Louding Voice.
Yes.
I think that's okay.
Yes.
And I liked that because it speaks of a girl transitioning from a very poor background, yearning for education, and moving. She found somebody in the book who was willing to teach her. I didn't get to the end of the book, but at least 3/4. So that speaks to me because that's really what...
Well, you're trying to help people. You want them on that journey.
Yeah.
Abidare, I mean, this is her first book, but it's fascinating.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a
very
lovely
engaging.
Book. Yes, and it's so well written in Pidgin.
Yes.
And a lot of English people have written to me and said, you must read this book by this Nigerian, and they could actually enjoy it even though it was written in dialect.
Yes.
It's a lovely book.
Yes.
So tell me, what are you listening to at the moment?
Yeah, it's interesting you should ask, because last night I was having myself a nice dance to Nigerian high life music of 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
I was listening to Rex Lawson and Prince Nkoyo.
Wow.
Sweet Mother.
Sweet Mother, never forget.
And then the Rex Lawson songs, I can't quite recall now. But it was nice. It takes me back. They had on the screen the Nigeria of old. It was a picture of a Volkswagen car and palm trees. The Beatles. Palm trees and a rusty, dusty road. But it reminded me of when Nigeria was so safe.
And simple.
Life
was a lot simpler.
A lot simpler. You went on those roads, but you were safe.
But I must say, the fashion at that time was amazing, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. In a way, that's where we go back to from time to time.
Our parents' fashion, it was awesome. That was the golden era. I love that.
Yes.
Oh, so I must check out.
It was with a sense of nostalgia.
Yes, it's when we do nostalgia about Nigeria, those were the days, wasn't it? And even musically, I think it was amazing.
Yes.
So what are you watching on Netflix or DSTV or movie?
I like Family Reunion.
Okay.
It's an American comedy.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I've been watching. And at Christmas, I find out there are a lot of romantic movies related to Christmas. So I've been watching this Christmas.
Lifetime kind of movies. Yes.
Movies.
Okay.
They're nice and wholesome.
Do you know, nowadays I'm afraid to switch on DSTV or Netflix.
I don't go past 7+. 13+ may surprise you.
I just do not. I don't want anything unpleasant. I'm preserving my mental state. I don't want any challenges. Okay, so describe yourself in 3 words.
I usually would like others to describe me.
Yes, I know, but that's why this is slightly more interesting.
Okay.
Describe yourself.
A bit of a headmistress.
Okay. That is good. Okay, headmistress.
But a compassionate one. And I think I enjoy laughing too.
Yeah, I think you've got
hanging out with friends.
Yes, you've got an amazing sense of humor. Okay, now this is the bit that most people find annoying. Tell me a joke. Just tell me a joke.
Gosh.
Joke or a funny story.
Now you ask me. It seemed to have offload out of my head.
People say, this is stressful. How can a joke be stressful?
A joke?
Yes. Or a funny incident. Or which comedian do you like?
Oh, boy.
Which comedian do you like?
There's a lady, a friend sent a clip to me. She's called Alaja Don Jazzy.
Alaja Don Jazzy. I never heard of that.
I think it's Helen Paul.
Is it on Instagram?
Or I should imagine, I'm not familiar.
Okay, I'm going to Google her.
Google her. A friend sent me a clip What I
Lady
think was interesting is that she takes a real life incident and talks about it in a comic way,
Okay.
but passes on a message. I mean, having said that, I've only listened to a clip or
No,
two,
but
so
that's
I can't
good.
swear by
I'm so grateful. I'm going to check her out.
as the major source of
Oh, of course. Well, at least
comedy.
she had one good one, so that's
Yeah.
good. I'm gonna check that out. Well, Miss Nkoyo Rapu, thank you so much. I've had an amazing time. Now, if people wanted to get hold of you or get in touch with you about Bethesda or about yourself, how do they do that?
Oh, please look at our Instagram page.
Okay.
It's at my Bethesda.
At My Bethesda.
At My Bethesda.
Okay, and I know
Tells
it's
the
very
story.
active.
Yes.
And it's so amazing. And then if they wanted to get hold of you, they can get hold of
My
you through that.
email
Okay.
would be rapunkoyo@yahoo.com.
Well,
And through Bethesda as well.
they can reach you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Ernest.
Thank you, Mrs. Marriott.
Thank you. You're just a star. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Well, it's been a really interesting year. We started on the 1st of April, and we're really grateful to all our listeners and all those who've reached out to us. We'd like you to keep getting in touch, keep sending us DMs, and in the new year, we've got something I think you'll all enjoy. We'd like to feature some of our listeners. We have such a diverse range of people listening to us all over the world. Truly amazing and really humbling. So if you'd like to feature on our podcast, or you have something interesting you'd like to hear about, why don't you, first of all, give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from, and send us a screenshot of your rating and your comments, and then get in touch via Twitter, banana_living, or on Instagram at Banana Island Living, or by email, mail@bananaislandliving.com. We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, wishing you a fantastic Christmas and a truly, truly happy New Year. We'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.